Hello and thank you for joining us for another episode of City Council Roundup. I'm your host, Josh Lee.
And I'm Kathleen Pade.
In this episode, we're going to cover the City Council meeting conducted online on Monday, June 22nd. Topics include the award for construction services for the McHard Road Expansion Project, an update to the COVID-19 CARES Act, and a water conservation and drought contingency emergency response plan. First, the construction contract for the McHard Road Expansion Project. This massive project expands McCard Road from Pearland Parkway all the way to the Pearland city limits on the west side of town at FM 521 and Alameda Road. The 3.5-mile extension completes an additional east-west route to parallel 518 by connecting the intersection of McCard and Cullen from the west to the existing McCard-McCalla intersection to the east. The approximately $45 million project receives both state and federal funding through the Advanced Funding Agreement with TxDOT, allowing the city to be reimbursed for up to 80% of construction costs. Council awarded the nearly $30 million construction contract to James Construction Group, bidding the project at 10% lower than the engineer's estimate.
Second, an update to the city's allocation of the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Stimulus Act, or CARES funding. The city received $6.3 million from the federal government through the state of Texas to be used for economic recovery and city-incurred expenses related to COVID-19 preparation, response, and recovery efforts. At the first City Council discussion, held June 8th, there was feedback on where the priorities should be among the options, which led to last night's further dialogue around the following budgetary allocations. $1.6 million to social services, $200,000 to public health, $2.5 million to business recovery efforts, and almost $2.1 million to continuity of city operations, public safety, and incident management. Council had a good discussion on this topic and took two separate actions. First, approving the COVID-19 Impact Recovery Plan, which outlines city recovery efforts supported by federal and/or state funding, and second, authorizing the use of Coronavirus Relief Fund to be used for reimbursement of the city's actual costs related to emergency protective measures.
Finally, the adoption of a water conservation and drought contingency plan. To maintain compliance with the Texas Water Development Board, city staff developed a water conservation and drought contingency plan to manage short and long-term water shortages. This plan recognizes the need to efficiently use existing water supplies and the city's dependence on water providers. The drought contingency plan offers short-term solutions in the event of water shortages and emergencies, including triggering conditions, goals, and actions if water demands exceed the city's ability to provide essential water resources. The goal of the Water Conservation Plan, on the other hand, is to achieve long-term, lasting improvements in water use while reducing the amount of water drawn upon. Objectives include implementing the advanced metering infrastructure and raising public awareness for water conservation, a critical natural resource that we in the area are all concerned to protect. The first reading of the ordinance passed. The second reading is planned for July the 13th, which would authorize the city to adopt the Water Conservation Plan and the Drought Contingency Plan. As an aside, we want to thank our city water and wastewater system production, treatment, and metering team. They're out there every day and are essential frontline public servants making sure that you have water when you need it, especially now when we should all be washing our hands and keeping down the spread of COVID-19. And that's all we wanted to cover today. Thank you for joining us.
As always, we hope that this series makes the information easy to understand and useful for those interested in your Pearland city government.
You can find more information by visiting pearlandtx.gov or by clicking the links below. Leave a comment if you have any questions or suggestions.
Click here to watch the last episode of City Council Roundup.
And here to subscribe to the channel. Hey Kathleen, when does a joke become a dad joke?
When it becomes apparent.
When the punchline becomes apparent.